Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Kent Erdahl.
Some devastating news to share this afternoon. The 12-year-old boy severely injured in a bike crash earlier this week in Sartell will be taken off of life support this afternoon. 12-year-old Raghuv Shrestha was wearing a helmet when he crashed Sunday evening at the bottom of what locals call Muskie Hill at Sartell's Northside Park. Police say the boy went into cardiac arrest and wasn't breathing after the accident. This despite efforts by Good Samaritans who performed CPR until the arrival of medics. The boy was transferred to a hospital in critical condition. Sartell police say they learned Shrestha also wanted to be a police officer, so this morning they made him an honorary Sartell officer.
Today, police are searching for a suspect in a deadly shooting inside a bar in downtown Minneapolis late last night. It happened just before midnight at Bar Zia, which is located near South 4th Street and 4th Avenue South. That's right by the federal courthouse and a few blocks from U.S. Bank Stadium. Police believe a fight inside the bar led up to the shooting. Officers say they found a 21-year-old man shot several times inside. 3 other people were injured and transferred to a hospital, but they are expected to be okay. Also overnight, someone vandalized Temple Israel in Minneapolis with hateful and anti-Semitic graffiti. Temple Israel is the largest Jewish house of worship in Minnesota. The vandalism came just hours after the second anniversary of the October 7th attack in Israel and amidst the celebration of Sukkot. Some of the language included anti-Zionist references to Hamas's attack on Israel in 2023. In a statement, Rabbi Zimmerman encouraged the temple community to stand up for Jewish values even amidst difficult times. Right now, tensions are rising in Washington, D.C. as the government shutdown enters its second week. President Trump is facing pressure to address health care after Democrats once again said that there will be no deal without extending Affordable Care Act tax credits. Most Republicans continue to argue the health care question can wait, while conservative Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says she agrees with Democrats. In an interview on Tuesday, she said her party does not have a plan on health care, and without extending health care subsidies, she believes insurance premiums would rise.
But for the health insurance issue, it's happening right now. These premiums are going to go up. What I am upset over is my party has no solution. It's not something that we talk about frequently, but it is a reality for Americans, and it's something that I don't think we can ignore. I really want to fix it.
Meanwhile, concern about the extended impact of the government shutdown is increasing across the country. Nutrition programs like WIC and SNAP fearing they would run out of money, leaving thousands of families without necessary support if the shutdown stretches on. Overnight, flight delays hit more major airports, including Chicago O'Hare, Nashville, and D.C., as the Federal Aviation Administration says there aren't enough air traffic controllers coming in to work. And thousands of people working without a paycheck now also fear they may not get it after President Trump suggested no back pay even if the government opens up, despite the federal law that mandates it.
For the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
Tensions are rising in Portland and Chicago over National Guard deployments, and now for the first time, Minnesota has entered that conversation. Overnight, Governor Walz posting on social media that he is preparing for the possibility of National Guards deploying to Minnesota. Last night, Walz joined the Illinois Governor Pritzker on the stage to discuss the power of state leadership in the face of the federal government. Both governors accused the Trump administration of targeting blue states by deploying ICE and National Guard troops.
So they sent all these folks, the ICE and CBP and now National Guard, without talking to me at all. They have not picked up the phone and called me, not once.
So this is not normal, and this is not to set up something that's peripheral to this. If it's about, helping us out on an event that comes up, helping us out on crime or whatever it might be. None of this is it. Not coordinating with the governors. No, we do not hear from them.
Now, both Illinois and Chicago are in the middle of a legal battle suing the Trump administration over this Guard deployment. They're waiting for a judge to hear their argument tomorrow about why National Guard troops should be stopped from mobilizing there. But as we speak, the Texas National Guard is in Illinois, stationed at an Army Reserve training facility about 50 miles outside of Chicago. Right now, they're undertaking legal and crowd control training before deploying into the streets of the city. And here's the latest out of Portland, where the Homeland Security Department is visiting local officials, just as the city is dealing with tensions of its own over Guard deployments. The court challenge is reversed in that state. A federal judge has temporarily blocked troops from deploying to Portland. The Trump administration will be the ones appealing that ruling in a hearing tomorrow. Today, former FBI Director James Comey pleading not guilty to charges of making a false statement and obstruction of Congress. The Justice Department claims Comey lied to lawmakers during a video testimony in 2020 when he denied authorizing a media leak. Critics say that the charges against Comey come as revenge for his investigation into Trump's 2016 campaign, alleging Trump's ties to the Russian government. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest.
Hi there. In an unprecedented scene today, former FBI Director James Comey appearing in court, pleading not guilty to federal charges of making a false statement and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. President Trump has long seen Comey as a political enemy, and just days before the charges were announced, the president posted on social media calling on Attorney General Pam Bondi to charge Comey and other political opponents. In a contentious Senate hearing yesterday, Attorney General Bondi refused to say whether she'd had any discussions with President Trump about the case. The charges stem from congressional testimony Comey gave in September 2020. When he was pressed over whether he'd lied to Congress years earlier about authorizing a leak to the press involving an investigation into Hillary Clinton. Comey denies lying and posted a video defending himself while arguing he believes there are costs to standing up to President Trump. The statute of limitations for the charges was set to run out the week after they were announced, and the week before, the top prosecutor tasked with leading the Comey investigation quit rather than seek an indictment. A senior DOJ official told NBC News career prosecutors laid out why they believed there was not enough evidence to charge in a memo to President Trump's hand-picked replacement and former personal attorney Lindsay Halligan, who has no experience as a prosecutor and was ultimately the only one to sign Comey's charging papers. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
New today, police making an arrest connected to the Palisades fire that ravaged part of Los Angeles earlier this year. That fire leveled part of Pacific Palisades and is deemed the 9th deadliest fire in that state's history. Police say a 29-year-old man in Florida started the fire on New Year's Day, and it smoldered for several days before exploding in size, being fanned by powerful winds. It destroyed thousands of homes and businesses and scorched nearly 24,000 acres of land. Also, last night, the U.S. Senate confirmed more than 100 of President Trump's nominees in just one vote. One of those nominees, a U of M law school grad and Navy veteran Daniel Rosen, who will serve as the next U.S. Attorney for Minnesota. Rosen will take over for acting U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson. Today, a big embezzlement investigation is underway after newly released court documents revealed that the treasurer of the Isanti County Sheriff's Foundation allegedly embezzled thousands of dollars. Kimberly Nordenstrom is accused of creating fake bank accounts and bringing in $100,000 in grant money. The complaint says she used the money to pay off her debts and buy farming equipment.
For this person to do what she did, I'm beside myself.
In my 31 years as the Isanti County Attorney, I don't recall thefts in this large an amount.
Nordenstrom is facing 2 charges of felony theft. Right now, the clock is ticking for Minnesota to comply with federal guidelines barring transgender athletes from women and girls sports. The state has said it'll resist the push from the White House, but now some districts across Minnesota are calling on the state to fall in line. Carla Holt has the latest.
A heated debate today taking the form of a flurry of legal letters.
When you look at that letter, it's 61 pages of violations of how we're violating federal law.
As a director of the Prior Lake Savage Area School Board, Lisa Atkinson says last week's letter from the U.S. Department of Education lays out how Minnesota has violated Title IX when it comes to transgender students participating in sports.
Bathrooms is one issue, but then it goes so much further. It's so much further. It's locker rooms, it's sports, it's, again, how do we protect all children? Because our policies right now don't.
At issue, Atkinson says, both student safety and the law. It's why she and other school board members from around the state started their own website and drafted a letter calling for state leaders to change policy. The move follows a similar decision in Forest Lake, where the board also voted to send state leaders a letter calling for change.
If they do not comply, we are at risk of losing, like I said, almost $1 billion worth of funding to our local school districts.
But even with federal funding on the line, Jess Braverman, legal director at Gender Justice, says the federal government does not have the law on its side.
The law is what it is. It does not require trans exclusion. If anything, it requires inclusion.
As for letters claiming student safety is at risk, Braverman agrees, but for a decidedly different reason.
There's nothing safe about discriminating against a group of vulnerable students. It actually makes all kids less safe, because then every kid has to worry, am I next? Is this scrutiny going to come down on my body?
The chair of the Forest Lake School Board says his board's efforts are intended to, quote, protect the well-being of all of our students. A spokesperson with the State Department of Education tells us they're reviewing the letter, and leaders remain, quote, committed to ensuring every child has the opportunity to thrive in a safe and supportive school community. Some bad news for frequent flyers. MSP Airport has been ranked one of the 10 worst airports in the nation for flight disruptions. That's according to new data collected last month by AirHelp. Flight disruptions are categorized as anything that interferes with travel plans like cancellations, long delays, and overbookings. The data shows MSP had nearly 43% of flights disrupted. The best airport, according to AirHelp, is JFK in New York. Stick with us. More news and weather is coming up after the break.